Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below, and if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's going to be the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins. We're going to see Bryce Elder and Sandy Alcantara on the mound in this one. A pretty tough spot to be in for the Braves as they have to go from Citi Field in New York to Miami with no days off and a doubleheader on Monday. So, Bryce Elder, we saw him pitch against the Marlins last time out, really didn't fare too well in that game. Even though the Braves went on to win that ball game 6-4, Elder gave up 3 home runs and 4 earned runs in only 5 1/3 innings of work. Only 3 strikeouts, 2 walks to go with it. We saw the Miami Marlins play really competitive baseball this weekend. They have their best starter on the mound, even though he's got that ERA of 5.04. My only concern with Sandy right now is the fact he's given up some home runs, at least 1 home run in each of his last 3 starts, but he's still striking batters out. He's not really walking many guys. I think he's going to figure it out, and I think I like his chances in this one. So give me the Miami Marlins on the money line. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the Detroit Tigers. No official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change, but right now I'm seeing Max Scherzer and Michael Lorenzen listed as the starting pitchers. Now, Max Scherzer, this is the first game that he's eligible to pitch in since his suspension, and, whether it's this game or a game later in this series, I think Scherzer's going to pitch very well against the Detroit Tigers, a lineup that's one of the worst in the American League this season, and, Michael Lorenzen, this is a guy who struggled 7.07 ERA. He's a strikeout-dependent guy. He's had pretty good strikeout stuff, but you're facing the New York Mets, a team that limits strikeouts at the plate. Lorenzen's coming off a start against the Brewers where he gave up 5 earned runs and a homer in only 5 innings of work, a 6-2 loss for Detroit. I think he struggles here. Give me the New York Mets on the money line. I'll lay a little bit on the run line as well. Next up, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. No official lineup for this game either, but we should see Roansy Contreras and Josh Fleming on the mound. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the first team to 20 wins in the National League this season. I don't think many people expected that. And, even though Pittsburgh dropped the final game of that series against the Nationals, still, one of the best teams in baseball so far this year. And, the Rays, obviously, on the other side, a very hot start to the season themselves. But I mentioned that this Rays bullpen definitely has some regression concerns after a really good start to the season. Their Sierra and XFIP numbers not the best, and we saw on Sunday, really right in full force, the Rays had a nice comeback. They were down early in that game. They scored 5 runs in the 8th inning to take the lead, and then the bullpen gave up a run in the 8th and 7 runs in the 9th to lose that one 12-9, the final score. Jalen Beeks struggled in that one. He gave up 5 earned runs, so I do think that this Rays bullpen still has concerns going forward, regression-wise, and Josh Fleming, not really my favorite starting pitcher to back, not really a guy that earns a lot of strikeouts, and Roansy Contreras has pitched well for Pittsburgh this season, coming off another really strong outing against the Dodgers, 6 innings, 5 strikeouts, no earned runs against LA, one of the best lineups in baseball. The Pirates are 4-1 on the money line in his first 5 starts of the season, and he's pitching well, 3 straight wins to the Pirates when he's been on the mound. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Pirates here on the road. I think they grab the W. Next up, it's the Chicago Cubs taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Hayden Wesneski and Trevor Williams on the mound in this one. Now, Trevor Williams has the better ERA right now, but I don't think it's going to last for too much longer. And we saw him struggle in his last game against the New York Mets, and I think he's going to struggle in this spot against the Chicago Cubs team. It's lineup-wise been really solid both against righties and lefties this season. Hayden Wesneski, I also think has a lot of potential in his game, and we saw his last start. 5 innings, only 1 earned run against a tough San Diego Padres lineup. And even though Wesneski's not been the sharpest this year, the Cubs are still 4-1 on the money line in his first 5 starts of the season, so can't be doing that bad. I'm taking the Chicago Cubs here on the road on the money line. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the New York Yankees. We're going to see Tanner Bybee and Garrett Cole on the mound in this one. Now, the New York Yankees have not been very consistent offensively against lefties or righties as of late, and injuries certainly play a role in that. Aaron Judge has been in and out of the lineup, and Stanton's been away for quite some time. But when you see on the other side Tanner Bybee, he's an inexperienced pitcher, sure, and this is his first start at Yankee Stadium, but he pitched really well in that first game against the Rockies, 5 2/3 innings, only 1 earned run with 8 strikeouts, and he did not give up a home run or a walk in that start. It's tough to trust this Yankees lineup, and Garrett Cole's been excellent on the other side for New York, and his last start, 6 2/3, 8 strikeouts, 2 runs against the Rangers. The Yankees have gone under the total in 4 of his first 5 starts this year, 5 of his first 6 starts this year, and I'm going to take the under yet again in this spot. Give me the under. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Joe Ryan and Michael Kopech on the mound in this one. I got to take the Minnesota Twins in this game on the money line. Oftentimes when you see teams that struggle at the beginning of the year that had pretty good teams on paper, big expectations going into the season, usually you can find value on those teams because they can usually figure out things and, sharpen things up and get things together as the season continues. But to me, the White Sox bullpen is still one of the worst, if not the worst, in baseball. Michael Kopech's got an ERA above 7, and Joe Ryan on the other side's been excellent, 5-0 with a 2.81 ERA. So it's just really tough to get behind the White Sox in this game because let's just say Michael Kopech puts together a strong outing and it's a close game late. Do you really trust that Chicago White Sox bullpen? And there's some injuries in the lineup. It's just really tough to get behind the White Sox in a game like this. Now, I certainly think there's going to be options and opportunities for us to back the White Sox going forward, and that we're going to get plus money prices against some of the better teams in the American League that we can't pass up. But this is just not one of those spots. Give me the Minnesota Twins on the money line. Next up, it's the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Boston Red Sox. We're going to see Tanner Houck and Yusei Kikuchi on the mound in this one. Now, some starting pitchers just really struggle at Fenway Park, and you look at Yusei Kikuchi in 2021, he pitched at Fenway for a start. He went 4 2/3 innings, 6 base hits, 5 earned runs, and 2 homers in that game. Last year, he had a 6-4 walk-to-strikeout ratio in his 2 outings at Fenway Park, and, I don't really love his chances in this game. On the other side, Tanner Houck, he's pitched really well as of late. His last 4 starts combined, only 1 home run allowed. He's missing bats. He's pretty good at getting those strikeouts. He's been able to limit the free passes as well in the last 2 games. His only 3 walks allowed in his last 12 innings of work against the Twins and the Orioles, 2 winning teams, 2 solid lineups. So I think I like Tanner Houck in this matchup against Kikuchi. I'm going to take the Boston Red Sox here and on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Kansas City Royals. We're going to see Tyler Wells and Ryan Yarbrough on the mound in this one. You look at these 2 teams on paper, their records pretty lopsided. The Orioles 19-9 to start the year. They're 10-5 away from home. The Royals 7-22 this season and 1-12 at Kauffman Stadium. You would think the Orioles are just going to run away with this series, and I do think I like their chances on Tuesday. I do think the series is going to be closer than what most people expect, though. So going forward, I think we might be getting some value with the Royals. But in this game, I got to take the Baltimore Orioles. This is a team that crushes lefties. They're facing a pretty weak lefty in Ryan Yarbrough. Tyler Wells has impressed me the last couple of games because he's starting to miss some bats and earn some strikeouts. 12 strikeouts in his last 12 2/3 innings against the Tigers and the Red Sox. Only 2 earned runs combined in those games. The Royals don't hit righties as well as they hit lefties, so give me the Baltimore Orioles on the run line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to see Steven Matz and Patrick Sandoval on the mound in this one. 2 starting pitchers that I'm not really in love with right now, and 2 teams that hit lefties very well. St. Louis Cardinals are 5th in baseball in team OPS and isolated power against those Southpaws, and the Angels, they are 6th best in baseball in team OPS, a very low strikeout rate at 18.4%, and I think they're going to be able to, I think both teams are going to be able to get to the starting pitchers in this game early and often. I'm going to take the over in the first 5 innings between the Angels and Cardinals. Next up, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Texas Rangers. Zach Gallen and John Gray are your starters. I just can't go against Zach Gallen right now in the Diamondbacks. I know this is a pretty steep price to pay on the road, but Gallen has had another scoreless streak. He had one last year, and here he is doing it again. His last 4 starts, no earned runs allowed, no home runs allowed, of course, and only 1 walk allowed with a ton of strikeouts along the way. In 3 of those 4 starts, he's had double-digit strikeouts. He's faced a number of different types of teams, the Brewers and the Padres, some of the better lineups in the National League. The Royals and the Marlins, maybe not the strongest of lineups, but still, Gallen is just dominating against any team that he's facing. 3 of those starts were at home. 1 of them was on the road, and that was against Miami. And, John Gray on the other side, he had an injury in the game against the Astros where he had to leave the game early. And since then, he just hasn't looked the same. And, his last couple of starts, they weren't the worst. He only gave up 3 earned runs in each of his last 2. But the strikeout numbers and the walk numbers are what really concerns me. He gave up 1 home run, but he had 7 walks and only 4 strikeouts in those last 2 games against the Cincinnati Reds and Oakland A's of all teams. So I think the Diamondbacks are a better lineup than both of those teams. And I think the Diamondbacks are going to roll in this one. Give me Arizona on the money line. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Houston Astros. Anthony DeSclafani and Hunter Brown are your starters. Now, I don't love taking the Astros against a right-handed starter, as we know that their numbers against righties nowhere near as good as against lefties. But, DeSclafani's given up a home run in each of his last 3 games, including 2 homers in his last start against the Cardinals. And Hunter Brown on the other side, he's missing bats more often. He's yet to give up a home run. He's pitching well so far for the Astros at a 2.37 ERA. I think he pitches well again here. And, if this is a close game late, I think the Astros have a huge advantage with the bullpen. I think the Giants, one of the weaker bullpens in the National League so far. So give me the Houston Astros on the run line here at home. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta and Ryan Feltner on the mound in this one. Now, in a Coors Field game and a Coors Field series, you're always going to see totals in the double digits. Even if the two best starting pitchers in baseball are facing off, you're going to see at least a total of 10. I guess maybe a 9.5 would slip in there sometimes, but we see this total at 11, and I think it's too steep. I like both of these starters in this matchup. Ryan Feltner's last couple of games, outstanding work. 11 and 2/3 innings against the Phillies and the Guardians with 12 strikeouts in those games. Now, sure, he hasn't fared too well at home this season, but I do like the fact that he's missing bats and he's limiting the long ball this year. Only 2 home runs allowed in 25 innings of work. Exactly what you have to do at Coors Field to be successful. And Freddie Peralta, the same thing for him. I mean, he's had a little bit of issues with the home run ball as of late, but striking out batters left and right, 31 strikeouts in 28 and 2/3 innings. He hasn't pitched at Coors Field in a while, but his first start at Coors Field was outstanding. I think he had 13 strikeouts. That was a long time ago, a few years ago, but he's had experience at Coors Field, not his first start ever at the stadium. So I do think he pitches well. I think he's going to miss a lot of bats as well. So give me the under in Brewers Rockies. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Logan Gilbert and Mason Miller on the mound in this one. Now, it's not easy to take the Oakland Athletics these days. Obviously, a 6-23 record is, you can't be too confident in taking Oakland, but I'm going to take the 1.5 runs here with the home team. I think they do enough to keep this game close, especially early on. Logan Gilbert has not really fared too well as of late. He's striking out batters, but he's also given up a lot of sharp contact and 3 home runs in his last 11 innings, his last 2 starts. So, on the other side, Mason Miller, he's a right-handed starter. The Mariners have not really had the best numbers against righties this season. They're outside the top 20 in team OPS, and they actually have the second highest strikeout rate against righties, which is important because Mason Miller has been able to earn plenty of strikeouts in his first 2 starts, 11 strikeouts in 8 1/3 innings, and no home runs allowed in those 2 games as well. So, sure, the ERA may not be great, but I think this is a spot where, in this series, the A's might not compete too much, but this would be the game I think they have the best chance at doing so. So give me the Oakland A's on the run line plus 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Diego Padres. Graham Ashcraft and Michael Wacha on the mound in this one. Now, there's no doubting the Padres are the better team in this matchup and certainly have the better bullpen, but the starting pitching matchup to me is lopsided and enough to where I don't see any value in taking San Diego on the money line or the run line at this kind of price. I think Graham Ashcraft is the far better starting pitching option in this game. Michael Wacha, he's given up a lot of base runners, base hits this season, 4 home runs allowed as well, with only 23 strikeouts to go with it. The Cincinnati Reds offensively not great on the road, but I'd rather take him against a righty than a lefty. And Michael Wacha, to me, 6.75 ERA, just not worth the price you'd have to lay with San Diego. So, the Reds bullpen, not really an easy thing to watch sometimes, but I'm going to take a chance with them here on the run line, getting those 1.5 runs. And the final game for Tuesday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. Matt Strahm and Julio Urias are your starters. Now, I do think the Dodgers' numbers against lefties are going to improve as the season continues. We see their numbers right now. The team OPS ranked 29th in baseball, but their BABIP is the lowest in baseball by far, 194 BABIP going into Tuesday. So we're going to see positive regression from the Dodgers' bats, but right now the Phillies are still doing better against lefties offensively, and Matt Strahm is the better starting pitching option, in my opinion, compared to Julio Urias, who has really struggled his last couple of games. His last 2 starts, 11 earned runs and 4 home runs combined in those 9 innings against the Cubs and the Pirates. You go back another start before that, he gave up 2 more home runs to the Chicago Cubs, and he's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 4 starts. For a guy who's really a pitch-to-contact ground ball starting pitcher, that's really worrisome because he doesn't have the best strikeout stuff to begin with. So if he's not missing bats and he's not getting the ball on the ground, he's probably going to struggle. And we've seen him give up 7 home runs in total in those 32 2/3 innings. Matt Strahm is a fly ball pitcher. When he's not getting those strikeouts, he's giving up a lot of fly balls, which can be worrisome against a powerful Dodgers lineup. But like I said, the Phillies' numbers against lefties have been better so far. Their bullpen has really improved the last 2 weeks or so after a rough start to the season. I'm going to take a shot here with the plus money with the Philadelphia Phillies on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bet, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.